everyone. This is Jared from Motherboard Genetics with my second of probably many pepper reviews. This is another in-house creation. It is a chocolate Bhut Jolokia, aka ghost pepper. So a chocolate ghost pepper crossed to another pepper that I created. Don't really have a name for it. But it's a Pimenta De Neyde from Brazil. I'm sure I'm absolutely butchering that pronunciation. Crossed to a Buena Mulata, both very purple black kind of peppers, and then crossed to a, like I said, chocolate ghost pepper, which is not quite black, not quite purple. It's a brownish chocolate color. I've already sliced the one that I'm going to try and preserve the seeds, but I'll put some pictures up on the screen so that you can see a good representation of the color and what it looks like. It's a very dark purple, almost black color, and then as it ripens, a little bit of bright red starts to shine through. I took the top for your guys' viewing pleasure because it's got the most pith, aka where all the capsaicin, the spice chemical, is located. Everyone always thinks it's the seeds, but that's a misnomer. The seeds don't have any intrinsic spice to them, but it's because they're attached to the pith, which does have the spice, that they get coated in it, and therefore, because they're basically soaking in the spice, people think that they're the source of the spice, but they're not. If you were to take, a seed that somehow didn't even touch the pith of the plant, it wouldn't be spicy at all. The seeds, there's no reason for them to be spicy, evolutionarily for the plant. The spice is to prevent mammals. Maybe this is getting into the weeds, but the spice in peppers is thought to be for the prevention of mammals from eating them, because mammals have these kind of grinding style teeth which would damage the seeds. And so the plant, if you could attribute thoughts to it, basically doesn't want the animal or a mammal with these grinding style of teeth to be eating the pepper, because it would damage the seeds and therefore it can't pass on its genetic lineage. Whereas birds, it quote unquote does want to eat them. They actually don't have capsaicin receptors, I think is what it's called, or there's some other receptor. So they don't feel spice because birds don't really have teeth. So when they swallow the seeds, they fly off into wherever, they poop, the seed is still intact, and it's a natural way of spreading on the plant's lineage. So it's essentially the plant going, I don't want you mammals eating this, so I'm going to make it spicy and painful, and humans are just the crazy ones who say we enjoy that. But most animals, when they eat it, they go, holy shit, probably shouldn't eat that again. If a squirrel decides to eat it, it's probably going to think twice about doing it again. Whereas a bird eats a pepper, doesn't feel anything, swallows the seeds and poops them out 10 miles away, and then this plant gets to carry on its genetics somewhere else, and the cycle continues. But anyways, rant over about the pith versus seeds. The top is the highest concentration of the pith. Therefore, I'm going to be eating the spiciest part of the pepper. Because I know if I cut off the bottom, anyone in the comments who's a pepperhead will be like, oh, you ate the bottom because you're too much of a wimp to eat the top and really get a good feel for how spicy it is. Well, I'm eating the top. So I got myself a little mini Coke because, again, this has ghost pepper in it, so I would imagine if it's at least got any of the spice of it, it's going to be hot, even with my tolerance. So here goes nothing. Cheers, if anyone is eating a hot pepper along with me. Let's see. Let me smell it first, actually. Smells hot. Anyone who's seen a super hot pepper or smelled one knows what I mean. It just has this dangerous kind of smell to it. Smells not very sweet, kind of almost bitter, acidic, like chipotle, almost spicy, but not in the hot sense of the word. yeah, without further ado, here we go. Oh wow. The flavor is a lot different than the smell. Swallow. It's got some kick, for sure. Let's crack this open. So the flavor, normally, in my experience, peppers smell very close to how they're going to taste. So for example, you bust open a habanero. It smells fruity, floral, tastes fruity and floral. This one, like I said, in the smell department, couldn't really detect a whole lot other than just, hey, I'm going to burn your butthole off if you eat me kind of smell. Not too much. But when I ate it, it had that habanero-esque kind of flavor with a little bit more like a fajita chipotle flavor. And don't get me wrong, the Ghost definitely makes it hot, and I have quite the spice tolerance, so let me put this into perspective. If you're not a spice person, or you like spice but you're used to jalapenos, this will probably murder you. You know, I'm even sweating here. It's hot outside, it's bright, but it's definitely attributable to the pepper. So, the heat is definitely there. For people like me who have a decent tolerance, it's not so hot that it's unbearable. You know, I'm not over here crying, sweating, dripping snot or anything. But I would say for, you know, some of my friends or other people that I know that don't particularly like spice, it would definitely be unpleasant unless you were to cook this into an entire crock pot worth of food. I feel like that would be the time where it would actually dilute it enough to where it's a perfect level of spice. But if you're insane like me and you just chop one of these up and throw them into tacos, be prepared, because if you don't have a spice tolerance or you don't know what you're getting yourself into, you're going to be crying. So, overall, like I said, it's chocolate Bhut Jolokia, aka chocolate ghost, crossed to a Pimenta De Neyde from Brazil. It's this little black looking pepper. And then a Buena Mulata, which is this beautiful, I've grown it a few years ago, and that's where I ended up breeding this other pepper. It's this beautiful, long, cayenne-looking pepper. It's like a cayenne that kind of like is wrinkled, and it's this beautiful purple. And it matures into red, but it's actually still good in unripe form, which is the color purple. And so those are the three parents that went into this. Definitely toned down the spice from a regular ghost, considering a regular ghost would floor most people. And a Pimenta De Neyde and a Buena Mulata pepper, they're both hot, but they're like twice a jalapeno, 3 times the spice of a jalapeno, whereas jalapeno is 3 to 6,000 usually Scoville units, versus a ghost which can hit 1,000,000. So the two other parents that I just listed, the Buena Mulata and Pimenta De Neyde, definitely toned down the spice a little bit, which I think is a good thing. Not only does this pepper look really cool, but if you want a super hot pepper that isn't necessarily just devoid of flavor, because in my opinion, ghost peppers and Carolina Reapers and a lot of the other ones, especially the Trinidad Scorpion, they're not really worth it because you get a lot of spice. So if you just want to extract spice, sure, they're worth it. But if you really want to add flavor and spice into it, they kind of just taste like crap. So what's the point, you know? But this one, thankfully, the other two, besides the chocolate ghost pepper, imparted a better flavor and toned down the spice while still keeping it kind of intense. So in my opinion, it's kind of the best of all worlds. It looks really cool because it's basically black with like a hint of red. It's very aesthetically pleasing. The flavor is not the smell is not indicative of the flavor, which is a good thing because it doesn't smell that great, but it's for eating. Who cares if it's not the greatest in smell, as long as it tastes good, and it tasted pretty dang good. And here I am, the heat is already basically gone. I've taken, what, 2-3 sips of this Coke. That's all I needed. It was one of those spices that hits you really quick immediately, pretty strong. For a second, I was starting to get a little worried, like, wow, that's pretty damn hot. And then it just fades away. And that's my favorite. I don't like the ones that have this slow roller coaster ride of when is it going to stop. I like it to be hot, kind of knock me on my ass, and then go away. And that's what this one is doing. So I need to figure out a name for this one. That way I can have seeds and, sell the seeds, continue to stabilize this this specific strain. But like I said, it's the chocolate Bhut Jolokia, aka Chocolate Ghost, crossed to a Pimenta De Neyde from Brazil and a Buena Mulata pepper. If anyone in the comments section watching this has any name suggestions, I'd love to hear it. I'm terrible at coming up with names. I always crowdsource it. But yeah, that was my second pepper review of my own in-house breeding genetics from this season's peppers. Thank you for watching.